I kept trying to piece everything together in my mind. She had been so quick to blame me, almost too quick. But there was something about the way she acted when the officer started checking things out that made me think she was hiding something big. My gut was telling me there was more to her than just a petty thief. The officer finally broke the silence, speaking to me in a lower voice. He told me to stay quiet for a moment as he made a quick call. My pulse quickened. What was he getting at? Was he going to confirm my story, or was he doubting me like I feared? Then, just as the tension seemed unbearable, the woman's demeanor completely shifted. She looked at the officer and then quickly pulled something from her bag, a small envelope sealed tight. She handed it to him with a smile that made my skin crawl. "Here," she said, her voice almost too sweet. "I'm sure this will clear everything up." The officer took the envelope, and I could feel my heart stop for a moment. What was inside? What was she holding over my head? The way she looked at me, it was as if she knew something I didn't. Everything was spiraling out of control. I had no idea where this was going, but I could feel that the worst was yet to come. The officer opened the envelope slowly, and that's when I saw it, the moment everything started to change. The officer's fingers trembled slightly as he pulled out the contents of the envelope. My eyes widened as he unfolded a series of papers, his brow furrowing with every page he scanned. For a split second, everything went still. I couldn't breathe. I thought maybe it was some kind of false identity or a record she'd forged, something to get herself out of the mess she was in. But then I saw it, a receipt. It was from my bank. The name on it, her name. I was completely frozen. How could she possibly have a receipt from my bank? I hadn't shared my information with anyone, not even a hint of it. My mind raced, trying to figure out how this could be real. The officer's face had gone pale, his eyes shifting between the woman and me, as if he wasn't sure which side to believe anymore. She looked smug now, almost triumphant. "You see," she said, her voice dripping with confidence, "I had every right to use that card. It's my account now." What? My brain couldn't make sense of it. My card, my account, my name. How was she pulling this off? The officer stared at the receipt for what felt like ages, the tension building, but then he turned to me. Did you recently report your card as stolen?" he asked cautiously, his voice almost too calm. I was about to respond, to explain that I hadn't, when I realized something that made my stomach drop. The date on the receipt. It was from the same day I had parked at the gas station. The same day she had stolen my card. But how had she gotten it so quickly? And why did it look like she was trying to frame me for her own crimes? Before I could speak, the woman spoke again, this time her voice full of venom. "If you don't want this to get worse for you, I suggest you back off," she warned, her eyes narrowing in a chilling way. "This can all end very easily, for me, of course." The stakes had just gone through the roof. This was no longer about a simple theft. It was about something far darker, and I was getting dragged into it, whether I liked it or not. The officer's eyes darted between the woman and me, his expression hardening. I could tell he was trying to process everything, but my mind was racing too fast to follow. How had she gotten that receipt from my account? There was no way she could have hacked into my bank, not that quickly. Something wasn't adding up. I'd opened my mouth to explain, but before I could say a word, the officer spoke, his voice sharp now. "I'm going to need both of you to come with me." The shift in his tone made it clear this wasn't going to end quietly. My heart sank. Was I being arrested? Could this woman actually be right about everything? I needed to think fast, but I was losing control of the situation. And then, in a split second, something clicked. I glanced at the receipt again, squinting at the tiny print. That's when I saw it. The store listed at the bottom of the receipt wasn't anywhere near this gas station. In fact, it was a boutique store I'd passed just the week before. My breath caught in my throat as I realized what had happened. It wasn't just a theft. This woman had somehow been posing as me, using my credit card details and running small transactions to cover her tracks. I took a deep breath, feeling the tide shift in my favor. Wait, I said, my voice steady now. That receipt doesn't match. Look at the store. It's from asterisk last week asterisk. The officer glanced down, confusion clouding his face. That store isn't even near here. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I had just stepped out of the gas station for barely a minute when I noticed someone leaning into my car. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she thought it was her vehicle. But then I saw her pull my asterisk credit card out of the center console and march straight to the pump like she owned the place. That's when I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. She was actually trying to pay for her asterisk gas using my asterisk card. I rushed over and confronted her, thinking she'd panic or maybe apologize. But instead, she flipped the script. This woman, mid-40s, loud, and looking like trouble, started yelling that her asterisk was harassing her asterisk. Within seconds, she had her phone out and was dialing 911. The craziest part, when the cops showed up, she had the nerve to tell them that I was trying to scam her. With my own card asterisk, I was standing there stunned, trying to explain everything, while she spun this ridiculous story like she was the victim. What happened next had me questioning everything. The officer's reaction, the way she kept doubling down, and how something so obvious turned into a complete nightmare. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, something else happened. I couldn't wrap my head around it. This wasn't just some random act of theft, it felt personal. I had never seen this woman before, but somehow she was accusing me of being the criminal. It didn't make sense. I'd just gone into the store to grab a quick drink, and when I came out, my card was gone. As the officer listened to her wild story, I couldn't help but wonder what kind of person would go this far to lie. I explained how I had only just parked, how I saw her reach into my car, and how my card was in plain sight. The officer seemed skeptical, but still, he was giving her the benefit of the doubt. Was I just another Karen story? I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but this woman had the nerve to act like she was completely in the right. I kept looking at the officer, trying to gauge if he was really buying her story. Meanwhile, she continued to shout at me, calling me everything from a creep to a dangerous criminal in front of everyone at the gas station. Her words cut deeper than I expected. I had done nothing wrong, but it felt like she was making it her mission to turn the entire situation against me. And then, just as the officer was about to make his move, something unexpected happened that made everything even more complicated. As the officer stood there, trying to make sense of everything, the woman's accusations only grew more outrageous. She kept shouting about how I was the one who was harassing her, that I was trying to frame her for something I had no right to accuse her of. The crowd at the gas station was starting to gather, some whispering to each other, while others just stared. It felt like the whole world was watching, and it was as if I was the one being put on trial, not her. But just as things were getting tense, the officer suddenly took out his phone and started scanning something. He'd asked for my ID earlier, but now it was clear he was running my name. I wasn't sure if he was just trying to get a handle on the situation or if he was starting to doubt me, but the silence that followed was deafening. I tried to stay calm, but I could feel my heart racing in my chest. What if he thought I was lying? What if I couldn't prove my side of the story? Meanwhile, the woman was still going on about how unbelievable it was that someone like me would accuse her of stealing. But then something strange happened. She seemed to glance around nervously, almost like she was looking for something or someone. I couldn't figure it out, but the change in her demeanor was sudden. It was like she knew something I didn't. And then it hit me. Her whole story didn't add up. There were details that didn't match, things she said that didn't make sense, but I couldn't put my finger on it. The officer, still focused on his phone, muttered something under his breath. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but it didn't sound good. I had no idea where this was going, but everything was about to change. The tension in the air was thick, and I knew the next few minutes would be critical in deciding who would walk away as the victim. The officer's fingers hovered over his phone screen for what felt like an eternity. Every second stretched longer, and the air around us seemed to grow heavier. The woman, who had been screaming and ranting, suddenly went quiet. I could feel the weight of her gaze, like she was studying me, looking for some sort of weakness. Her posture changed too. No longer the angry, loud person, she now stood with a strange sort of calmness, almost like she was preparing for something. The woman's eyes flashed with panic for a brief moment, but she quickly regained her composure, trying to brush it off with a weak smile. "You don't know what you're talking about. That's just a mistake." But it was too late. The officer's focus shifted from the woman to me, the realization dawning on him. He quickly called for backup, his voice calm but urgent now. My heart was racing again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was a feeling of victory creeping in. But just as everything seemed to be falling into place, the woman did something unexpected. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number. "I need you to hurry," she whispered urgently into the phone, barely hiding the panic in her voice. Then she turned to me with a glare that sent chills down my spine. "You think you've won," she hissed. "This isn't over. You've just made a big mistake." Before I could respond, I saw something even more unexpected. A black SUV pulled up beside the gas station. Two men stepped out, tall, serious-looking, dressed in suits. They approached the woman, their presence instantly shifting the atmosphere. One of them handed her a thick envelope, and I realized then that this wasn't just a random theft. This was part of something much bigger, something I wasn't prepared for. The woman smiled at them, her entire demeanor changing again. "Thank you," she said, as if this had all been part of the plan. The officer, who had just been about to arrest her, was now standing frozen, unsure of what was happening. I could feel the ground shift beneath me as the truth slowly started to emerge. Whatever game this woman was playing, it wasn't just about me, my credit card, or even this gas station. I had become a pawn in a much larger scheme, and now I was in deeper than I could have ever imagined. And just before the men drove off with her, one of them turned to me with a smile and said something that I'll never forget. "You should have stayed out of this. Now it's too late." The last thing I saw was the woman's face, smug and victorious, as the car sped away, leaving me standing there, confused, betrayed, and tangled in a web of something much darker than I ever expected.